Hello and welcome, beloved. My name is Doña, aka Doña the Light. Welcome to another daily mental health chat stream. If you're catching this live stream on Twitch, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for finding me. And I appreciate you contributing in the chat, thoughts, opinions, agreements, disagreements, anything and everything. If you are catching this replay on YouTube, thank you for being here. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. This is going to play like a video podcast, so feel free to just pop me on in the background, listen in. No need to watch the video because it's just me sitting here talking. My baby is asleep, so there's even less of a reason to watch the video. Today, we're going to discuss how to heal without closure. We're going to be talking about different situations in which you could need closure, and how to heal when you haven't gotten it. Oh, Shaka. Good morning, Shaka baby. Shaka baby is here in the chat. How? I was first. And it wouldn't let me claim. It's okay, Jones. I do need to change it because people be claiming multiple, and that ain't cool. But it's okay, Jones. It's okay. Good morning, my loves. Good morning. Shaka, have a wonderful day at work. Stay hydrated. Take all your breaks, etc., etc. Gotta be quicker than that. Jones, how are you feeling? Have you eaten yet today? What time is it? It's 10:30, Jones. Have you eaten yet? You might just be waking up. You might barely be awake. I don't know. We'll see. Anywho, let's talk about... I was here in 2 seconds. We can fight. Hi, my love. We're going to talk about... Oh, I miss you too. I didn't get a chance to hang out in your stream yesterday because we were all over the place. But I will make it a point to be in your stream today. Pinky promise. Right here on my computer. DJ will be right there doing school. Well, I'll be there. Closure. So different situations that come to mind when I think about needing closure are situations in which someone just completely cuts off communication from you and doesn't give you a reason why, right? So that closure is typically, when they give us a reason, we understand the reason, and we accept the reason. So sometimes we're given a reason and we still don't feel like we've been given closure because we don't understand why. We can't see things from that person's perspective, or it doesn't make sense, or we were expecting something different from them, or we wanted something different from them. So all of those things can also prevent us from having closure. If we just have a really difficult time accepting what other people say, or a really difficult time accepting things that we don't agree with, those can also cause us to struggle with closure, because it's one thing if someone just cuts you off and just falls off the face of the earth. It's another thing if they say, I just don't want to be your friend anymore, and they leave it at that. And we can't wrap our heads around what that means. Spudwitch, I'm so sad. Spuddy, is it tripping on you too? Little redemptions have been messing up this morning. Hi, loves. Hi, Spuddy. How are you, my love? How are you feeling? Oh, in other news, my sister cousin gave me this ring right here. Ain't it pretty? Look at it. It's beautiful. I love it so much. Only fits on my pinky, but that's okay. Right. Hi, Queen Love. Spuddy. Anywho, thinking of a situation in which I needed... there's been plenty of relationships, like romantic relationships that have ended, in which I needed closure. Most of the time I initiated the ending of relationships, but I can think back to, and my memory is not the best, which is really interesting, because a lot of people that Grover has an incredible memory. I do not. But back in college, I dated this guy. We dated for I think it was about a year, maybe a year and a half. And he ended up breaking up with me. And I do not remember the sequence of events that led to us breaking up, or him breaking up with me. But I remember him saying something along the lines of, I just can't seem to make you happy, or I just can't figure out how to make you happy, or something like that. Meanwhile, we're in college. So I started college a year early because my birthday is in January, and also I skipped a grade. So I've always been a little ahead age-wise. Aw, Spubber said I was listening to a past VOD because I wanted to hear your voice and didn't realize that you went live and I was listening to the present you. Oh! Oh, my love. Spuddy, my heart. Oh, well, you're here now, boo. I got you. And on Friday, we get to talk together. Until I was like, wait, I don't remember that part. I love that so much. Especially because I've been consistent with starting my videos the same exact way. And, of course, my background looks the same. Like, that's so funny. Oh, baby girl. My love. But, yeah, so I really need to make a love emote. I need to put that on my to-do list today. Make a love emote, make a love emote, make a love emote. So he ended the relationship, said something along the lines of, I can't seem to make you happy, something, something, something. And I just remember feeling like really, really low, like very low, because I had no idea what that meant. And like I mentioned, you know, we were really young. He was maybe 18, I was maybe, no, he was probably 19. 18 or 19, I was like 17 or 18. Like, we were super, super young. But, was it my freshman year? Maybe it was my sophomore year. I don't remember, but anywho, we were young. We weren't even 20 yet. Not that that makes a difference, but yeah, just to give you context into how young we were. And I remember for a while, I was making a lot of attempts to reconnect with him because I wanted to date him again. Now that I think back, it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to date him again. We did have a good relationship, but it wasn't that I wanted to date him again. I really just wanted to get close enough to have a conversation with him and be like, yo, what happened? Like, for real. Tell me what happened. Like, what really happened in our last relationship? What's the real reason why you broke up with me? And so I thought that if I, you know, just kind of, you know, like, how do you say it? Like, tested the waters as often as possible, having conversations with him. And he would have conversations with me, but anytime I asked him to, like, hang out, he'd be like, no, that's okay. Which I totally respect him and appreciate the fact that, you know, he set that boundary and he held firm. Because there's a lot of people who, especially with exes, who'll cross that boundary or let that boundary blur because, you know, they want to have sex again or whatever, but they're not really interested in pursuing a relationship with that person again, which we had never spoken about. Like, he didn't know why I was reaching out to him again, but that was my motive. And I should have just led with that. I should have just led with, you know, it had been a couple years, and just asked straight out, like, hey, I'm just really curious, you know, to find out or to understand, you know, what was lacking, or, you know, how I could have been a better partner, or, you know, whatever in our previous relationship, instead of trying to, like, be low-key and sneak up under the rug and be like, yo, what's good with me, you, boo? So I should have just been very clear about my motives and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to happen. Thank you, Spuddy, for feeding my dragon, by the way. But I wasn't, because that kind of direct communication felt very scary to me. And I just wasn't prepared. I did not feel prepared. Oops. Oh. To have that type of conversation. So I didn't. I just beat around the bush, tiptoed around it, etc., etc. But that's what first comes to mind for me when I think about closure. I'm trying to think of, I started my first college, my undergraduate, I started in 2013, fall of 2013. So this is a good topic because I got ghosted a lot. Oh no, Spuddy! That's so frustrating. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really frustrating. But 2013 to 14, that was my freshman year. 14 to 15 was my sophomore year. 15 to 16, 16 to 17. Yeah. And I used to want to call them and be like, what the fuck's your problem? Jones said people don't like me after a week. Jones, cut it out. How long I've been here, Jones? You better cut it out. I love you. Stop. Stop. Don't make me whisper. Stop. Anyways. I can't date you. You married. I understand that, Jones. However, oh no, not the sad face. Jones, why are y'all getting me in my feels today? I totally chose this topic just on a whim. Y'all know I don't prepare for nothing. I'll be wanting to fight. We good people. But now I just feel like I know I was too real for them and they didn't want to waste my time. Right. That's true. And Jones, you're a wonderful man. You're an incredible person. Like, legitimately. I'm not just saying that because, I can. It's true. And going by feel on a whole new level. Sir Rhetorical, welcome in. Right, like, so here's the thing. I was going to suggest, when you've been ghosted by someone, unfollowing them on social media. I was trying to remember if I was on MySpace during the years that I dated this guy. I don't remember. I feel like maybe I had a Facebook. I really don't remember. But here's the thing about what Jones and Spuddy are saying. Like, Jones is mentioning, essentially, how hurtful it is to essentially be too much for people too fast. Like, that feels very personal. It legitimately feels like it's always your fault. But it's not. And I had a conversation about this, I don't remember what stream, but essentially, the more that people meet you and not necessarily disappear, but the more people that meet you and tell you that they aren't for you or you aren't for them, the better. Because that means that they're making way for the person who is supposed to meet you. The wonderful thing about that situation is this shows that you are putting yourself out there and that you're capable of meeting new people. You're capable of connecting with new people. And the beautiful thing about connecting with new people, similar to what Sabrina and I were talking about last week, is you get to practice, right? Because maybe you're the type of person who's down to just ghost someone, right? You have to learn in growing and in healing that is not how to... So Rhetorical said, wait, you mean communication is a great way to communicate? That's insane. It's true. Backyard Garden Joe. That's my girl, Jonita. Welcome, Jonita. Welcome in, beloved. That was hilarious. I love that. But yes, communication is a great way to communicate. We have to remember that if we are the people who are down to ghost other people, that's not a mature way to communicate, because that's not communicating. First of all, it's not communicating. You cannot communicate with silence. It doesn't work. You cannot communicate with something being implied. It's not a thing. It's not. You have to actually say words. I mean, you can even write words. You don't even have to verbally say them. You could write them down. You know what I mean? Like, but just keep in mind that if you write or text, that leaves more space for misinterpretation. Verbally speaking to someone already leaves space for misinterpretation. Writing something down leaves even more space for misinterpretation. Just keep that in mind. But as we heal it, as we grow in ourselves, we have to recognize that giving someone a reason why you don't want to communicate with them doesn't mean that you have to, like, justify it. Just in the same way that no is a complete sentence, you can tell someone, I don't appreciate the way that you speak to me, so I no longer wish to speak to you. And that can be it. You know, you don't have to tell them why. You don't have to give them examples. You don't have to do any of that, but you do owe them, or you should at least tell them, you know, what's going on and why you don't want to communicate with them anymore. Garden Joe says, I know, damn, hell, I do everything but say it. Jonita. Jojo, come on, boo-boo. So Rhetorical says, I mean, you can communicate with silence in a number of contexts, but it's usually not the best way to communicate. Exactly. Backyard Garden Joe says, I ain't the uncomfortable parts. I just be out. Look. Discomfort is a part of healing. It is. I mean, we could say this until we turn blue in the face, but doing things that make us feel uncomfortable is almost the quickest way to heal. If we just confront the things that we don't like to do or that don't feel good in our body, I mean, well, I'm not going to say don't feel good in our body, because some things don't feel good in our body because they're not good for us. But there are certain things that make us uncomfortable that we know we should do. We should do those things. One of those things might be over communicating. with someone. But again, if you give someone the gist or the meat and potatoes of whatever it is, I don't like communicating with you, I don't like speaking to you because you demean me, you talk down to me, etc., that would be enough. You don't have to continue to go into detail. Joan says, people are just trash at communication. They really are, but let's talk about why. Let's talk about why. So Rhetorical says, what doesn't kill you really hurts, but you win. Be real and be blunt. Exactly, says Jones. Be real and be blunt. So let's talk about why people are such trash communicators. Who taught you how to communicate? Probably your parents, right? And somewhat your family. The people that were older than you that kind of brought you up or raised you, right? My mama. Life. YouTubers. That's a solid answer. But that's like your adult life. That's not like, well, I don't know how old you are, Sir Rhetorical, but that's like right now. When we were growing up, back in my day, I don't remember if YouTube was a thing. It might have been a thing, but not to the capacity that it is now, where you can legit go to YouTube University and learn literally anything. But of course, when it comes to things like communication, if you learn on YouTube, you know, my advice is just to learn from multiple people. Like, seek different perspectives. Don't just cling on to one person and swear that they're life. So, Backyard Garden Joe says my mama. Jones says life, okay? I also learned how to communicate from my mom. But what didn't I have in my household? My mom didn't have a partner, right? Because she didn't marry my dad, and she didn't marry my brother's dad. So about 90% of my life was just living with mom as the sole parent. So that means that I did not see her communicate with another adult on a regular basis. I didn't see her disagree with another adult. I didn't see her, just have full-blown conversations with another adult. The only conversations that I ever witnessed were her conversations with my older brother, who was 10 years older than my twin and I, my twin, or myself. That's it. And typically, when we were growing up, our parents spoke to us as kind of less than, especially black parents. You know, children are supposed to be seen, not heard. Like, I'm not going to involve you in adult conversations, which there's a part of that that I agree with and a part of that that I don't agree with. Sir Rhetorical says, well, that was mostly a comedic statement. I did learn a lot of my more varied vocabulary from YouTube. I appreciate that. Sir Rhetorical also says, which made me sound really pretentious as a child. But not my problem, Miss Sanders. I agree. Totally not your problem. And that's kind of a part of it, right? Like, children shouldn't be involved in adult conversations because, you know, there are certain things that children just shouldn't say, or children just shouldn't know about, or whatever. However, I believe that if a 6-year-old wants to learn about rocket science, a 6-year-old can learn about rocket science. To Sir Rhetorical's point, having a more varied vocabulary and learning about things in a more simplified way doesn't mean that something is dumbed down. Like, I could teach my 6-year-old son about, thermodynamics in its very simplest form, but I wouldn't be removing any of the aspects of how thermodynamics work, right? Like, I could teach him about calculus, and it'll be a simple form of calculus, but it wouldn't be a dumbed down form of calculus, because dumbing down means there's things that are removed, and that's not a thing. So going back to who taught us how to communicate. If I don't have the opportunity to see two adults communicating on a regular basis, I mean, it doesn't even have to be, a mother and father situation. It could be like my mom and her friends. My mom was also very she prefers to just be by herself. Why? Because that means she doesn't have to communicate. She doesn't have to tell people how she feels if she just shuts people out. If she makes it her mission to essentially only involve people in her life when it's like customary, like around the holidays or around a birthday or around some sort of event like my baby shower and stuff like that. Those are the only times in which my mom will really gather around people, right? So this means that she does not have to communicate with adults because she makes it a point to not be around adults. So she doesn't have to communicate with them. Because when you're around other adults and you believe that children should be seen, not heard, other adults are going to be the ones that are going to challenge your point of view. You know, other adults are going to be the ones who ask you questions. You know, why did you do that? So Rhetorical says, that sounds nice. Yeah, it's been like that my entire life. I mean, there's never been, like, my mom has never had, like, friends just come over for, like, lunch or over for dinner or whatever. And those are the kinds of things that I would like to do. However, my friends live far. The people who I actually consider friends live far, which is okay for now. You know, we're just far apart for now. But when we get closer, we're going to be together all the time. All the time. I mean, we talked about building essentially like a compound, which my aunt was just talking to me about, interestingly enough. And I told her about the conversation that we've been having in our group chat about it. But anywho, if you haven't had good examples or illustrations, or I guess just examples, if you haven't seen adults communicate, or just people communicate in general, you know, how are you supposed to learn how communication is supposed to happen? If you've never seen your mom or your parent or whoever communicate when there's a problem, when they're sad, when they're frustrated, when they're anything but content or happy, how do you know how to communicate through those things, you know? So Rhetorical says, I never made many friends I could even bring home as my father is very religious. Oof. That can be rough. That sounds like it could definitely be very, very rough. But, poo. Thought train gone. Thought train lost. If you... Oh. So then let's go back to how our parents potentially treated us when we were sad, frustrated, upset, angry, whatever. It's rhetorical, you're totally fine. If I'm upset, right, I'm frustrated, I'm, you know, losing my noodles, and I'm like 10 or 11 years old, and my mom doesn't want to deal with it, which is, this happens, right, in a black home. It's like, yo, fix your face and take that attitude somewhere else because I don't want to deal with it. So now you're learning that when you have all these big emotions, you can't express them. You need to keep them to yourself and go deal with them yourself, right? You need to learn how to deal with your emotions on your own. Mind you, that's not a thing. We learn how to deal with our emotions through watching our parents and other adults deal with their emotions. We learn by example. If we don't see any examples of that, then we go by whatever input we're getting. If I'm having a friggin' tantrum and just losing my noodles because of whatever, and I get told to go to my room and stay in there and don't come out until I feel better, I'm going to learn that when I'm having whatever emotions, I need to shut everybody out and I need to be by myself. And that could lead to me ghosting people, right? Because I don't feel safe having conversations with people when I have all these big emotions because I've never practiced doing that before. I've never seen an example of it, and I've never practiced it myself. Backyard Garden Joe says, stay in your place. It was like they didn't come to you, but I asked why a lot. And worked her nerves. I saw more concepts as I got older. I was raised very religious too. I learned after having my daughter how toxic that was. I needed help working through it. Similarly with the Polynesian family though, it usually concludes with violence instead of shutting someone out. And then she says, now I realize that's why I isolate. Yeah, DJ, you can talk in the chat. DJ's here, everybody. My son, DJ. So if you'd like to say hi to him, pop it in the chat. Okay, here. Yes.
Oops.
What? You could just type. Well, it's not there yet because I just opened it. You can only see it right here. Hey, DJ.
And he said, hey, DJ.
Oh, yeah. Check out my shop.
Hey, DJ.
Thank you, Sarah Torrico. Yep, you're right. DJ. And
I shop.
It's definitely not uncommon for it to conclude with violence in a black home. You know what I mean? Especially if the child pushes back in any kind of way. You know what I mean? Like, let's say DJ's throwing a temper tantrum. Well, he's not a good example, but let's say DJ's throwing a temper tantrum and I'm...
oh, you said that.
Yeah, I know. And he's, like, upset and he's, you know, yelling and screaming and whatever. And I tell him to go take a break. I don't tell him to go... DJ, just hold on, buddy. Have a seat. Or just sit over here in the chair. Especially if it's perceived as disrespectful. Exactly, but like, what is disrespectful? A child being a child? You know what I mean? Like, that, yeah. If I'm treating him the way that I would assume, another black parent would treat him, having a temper tantrum, I tell him to go take a break or go sit down somewhere. And he doesn't. He yells and screams and says, whatever he's feeling. I'm really frustrated. I can't believe that happened. He's still going on and on about whatever. So rhetorical. Disrespectful is insulting the fragile integrity or pride of an adult. That's the truth. That is the absolute truth right there.
Mommy, if we're done, then we're gonna go for a walk.
We have to go walk after my client. Plus, it's raining outside still.
We can get our jackets.
Okay, we'll go later. But yeah, if I tell him something once and he doesn't comply, then yeah, it is totally common for it to be followed up with like a belt, a pop, a smack, whatever, you know what I mean? Backyard Garden Joe says, I realize it's because the adult also doesn't know what to do. It's much easier to say because I said so. Absolutely. Because again, then they're avoiding having to face the fact that they also need to communicate, that they also have big emotions that they need to manage and work through. And it's never going to be a perfect process, but it's always going to be uncomfortable, And for those of us that have grown up in homes culturally where children are seen, not heard, it is almost demeaning to think that you'd have to explain yourself to a child, regardless of the age of that child, right? It could be an adult child, but just because they are your child, it's like, excuse me, I don't have to explain anything to you. I am your mother, father, aunt, uncle, whatever. You should just do what I say. Right, you ain't nobody. Right. You see Spuddy's answer? We are doing well, TJ. But it's true. It's the absolute truth. And unfortunately, these are the times that we are sort of outgrowing. Like a lot of us are outgrowing it. Like I have no desire to yell. Well, I do yell sometimes. Yep, that's Sonic. It's the DJ emote. It's ironic that parents resort to being childish. Oh, Turtle over here dropping all the gems. It's ironic that parents resort to being childish when dealing with children. And that just shows, that's a clear illustration that...
Can you make a face for me?
Huh?
Can you just make a face for me?
Yes, that face is for you. It's clear in parents resorting to childish behavior that they themselves never matured past that point.
No blame.
Why? Because they were never challenged to do so. If you're never challenged to, exactly, Backyard Garden Joe says that's because they never really grew up in that aspect. They remained children. Like maturity-wise, mentally, they remain children because they were never given the chance to have conversations about holding themselves accountable for how they feel, about the fact that the things that they say impact other people, right? Once they got to a certain age, people just, oh, that's just how so-and-so is. It's just how they are, when the reality is the things that you say and the things that you do have an impact on other people. And again, like if I lose it and yell and get really frustrated, I go back and apologize and say, hey, I'm really sorry. I was really, really frustrated. I'm sorry for yelling. DJ says he calls it being mean. He tells me that I was being mean to him. And it's true. I was yelling. I lost it. I got frustrated. Whatever, but I go back and apologize.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
You mean, which one I can be me?
No, not recently, but if I yell at you and then...
You were throwing the cards.
Well, no, that was the example that we drew, but...
What?
Remember when we drew the picture? Okay, so if mommy gets mad, if I get mad and I yell at you and then I apologize after, right? I say I'm sorry.
And then I throw the cards.
No. He's thinking about a picture that we drew yesterday for school.
I know, but I was mean and angry. I screamed louder.
But you didn't do that in real life. You did it on your picture. That was for your homework. So Rhetorical says, it's truly pathetic that a child has to become the adult in the relationship. Right. But they shouldn't. You know, they really, really shouldn't. And it's really frustrating. Backyard Garden Joe says, I love when my little tells me about myself. She'd be like, Mommy, take a deep breath and smile. I love that. And the beautiful thing about that is the more that we can hear our children say those things to us and then comply or say, you know, baby, that's a really good idea. I will do that because I'm feeling really frustrated right now. And I think a deep breath would really help. Thank you for reminding me. You know, now they have, you got to put the exclamation point first and then the word lurk.
I pushed lurk.
I know, but you got to do exclamation point and then lurk. Okay. DJ's on my phone typing in the chat. I would never have been able to do that with my folks. Exactly. I can't do that now with my mom. And there are a lot of things that I have been able to call her out on and hold her accountable for. But still, for the most part, like the grand scheme of things, I can't. I absolutely can't.
Again.
I see, buddy. Spudwitch says, my son will tell me to do what he do, and he will close his eyes and start doing breathing exercises. Baby Spud over here leading by example. I love to see it. No, not you. Baby Spud. That is the cutest thing and the most impactful thing I've ever heard in my life. Because if they can teach you, that means that they can access it when they need it too. Right? Like, if they can remind you... Joan said, my baby just makes noises and I calm down. Mind you, she's 5.5 months, y'all.
Oh, look at that.
Spudwitch says, yes, because I do him like that all the time when he gets frustrated and stuff. Exactly. And that's how we teach our children. We teach our children by being the example of what we want them to be, being the example of what we want them to do, right? I don't know how this turned into a communication conversation, but it's okay. This is just how it works. It's just how it works. Yes, DJ.
Ta-da!
I love the 90s. Yeah, those are some good emotes. But yeah, again, I mean, it's totally related to closure because you cannot provide closure if you don't know how to communicate. You just don't. You're going to be way more likely. You're going to be way more likely to
Like a pattern.
just ghost people because it's easier. Because you don't want to go through the discomfort of having that conversation and telling them how you really feel. So Rhetorical says, wait, you mean do as I say, don't do as I do doesn't work? You know it doesn't, boo. But we hear it so often. You know, we hear it so often from our parents and our parents' parents, you know, do as I say and not what I do. And the funny thing about that is often they're talking about, like, making mistakes. But, like, 9 times out of 10, they won't even talk to us about the mistakes that they've made. And their reasoning behind it is because they don't want us to make the same mistakes.
I just want.
It doesn't even make any sense. If my mom told me, like, hey, I jumped off that bridge and, you know, that's the reason why I only have one leg. I'm probably going to heed that warning and probably not jump off that bridge. But our parents don't understand how much of a disservice they're doing to us by not talking to us about the mistakes that they've made. Because just imagine, like, you know, how my perspective would change about my parent if I now can see situations in which they were a child and they were just human. So Rhetorical says it's a pretty silly perspective to have. Everyone knows a child fundamentally learns from example because they have literally no other basis to go off of. And you know what, Sir Rhetorical? That's the most interesting thing about this is there are so many things that scientifically have been proven, and yet we as people and as cultures just do things that are completely backwards and completely opposite of what actual scientific studies, and I'm not going to say actual scientific studies, but I mean like theories that have been tested and have been experimented, and there have been trials and things like that. And culture is stronger than science. It really, really is. Backyard Garden Joe says the thing would be they wouldn't be able to say anything about it if they did the same thing before. So don't judge me. Right. It's true. It's absolutely true. And I believe that parents kind of strive themselves on preventing their children from making mistakes. But the honest truth is experience is a really, really wonderful teacher. It's a really wonderful. I hated the hypocritical lessons though. Right. But experience is an incredible teacher. Experience is a really, really good teacher, and I believe that we need to experience certain things in order to learn from them. Like I just
Subpipe.
believe that we do.
It says subpipe.
It does say subhype. We absolutely need to experience things. We need to go through them.
Oh man.
We need to learn how to cope. We need to have conversations. Conversations with people who aren't going to judge us, but who are just going to hear us out and say, wow, you know, even though I've gone through that before, I can see that really helps or that really hurts you, instead of saying, I told you that was going to be terrible. I told you it was going to suck. I told you whatever. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but can we have a conversation about how I feel about it? Because this is my first time going through it. Even though you told me that you went through it and how it impacted you and etc., this is my first time going through it. So can we talk about that? Because now I need to be able to cope with this. I need to be able to heal from this. I need to learn what to do moving forward now that I've gone through this. And yeah. So Rhetorical says, I just have to wonder why culture is stronger than science. There's really no rational reason for it. I would say the reasoning is because culture is introduced to us far sooner than science is. Culture is introduced to us the moment we are born. We are immersed in whatever culture we are a part of, or whatever culture, you know, we're born into. It doesn't really matter at that point necessarily, like, our genetic culture, you know, like, if I was born in Japan, I wouldn't be immersed in African American culture. I'd be immersed in Japanese culture.
No, that's
you know
like
what I mean?
Streamlabs doing that.
Yep. In addition, you know, how often are people in our family, or not necessarily people in our family, but how often are people who we consider to be, what's the word? Not necessarily experts, but people who we look up to, right? Like our parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, elders. How often are those people presenting things to us scientifically? Typically, it's just things that they've learned through the culture year over year over year, generation over generation over generation. And the more that those things are implemented and discussed and pushed on the next generation, the longer those ideals and beliefs remain in the culture, right? So it really won't be completely weeded out until the next generation makes the conscious decision to not teach their children that, and then eventually, you know, the last generation who did believe those things dies out, and, you know, etc. Backyard Garden Joe says, until you go out into the world, you assume a lot of stuff is normal behavior. I was like, wait, that's not how it's supposed to be? I agree. I totally agree. I mean, and it's really interesting when we think about that, because, you know, we could think about staring, right? Typically in Black culture, if you stare at someone, you either want to fight,
Mommy.
or you're telling them that something on them doesn't look good. Like their wig is messed up, their makeup is trash, their shoes are dirty, like something along those lines.
What day is it?
Today's Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
But if you stare, I think if you stare in like Japanese culture, like people just do it. I forgot what, it might be Japanese culture. I don't really remember. So Rhetorical says, a self-proving prophecy, how dangerous? Absolutely. Absolutely. It really, 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 truly is very dangerous to have a self-proving prophecy. It really is. So if you are in a situation in which someone ghosts you, what do? You know, how do you heal from that when you have not been given the opportunity to hear from the other person, excuse me, what went wrong, or how you could have improved yourself, or, you know, how you could have handled the situation better, etc., etc. Like, what do you do, you know? My recommendation would be to understand the fact that someone communicating with you clearly means that they have the capacity to do so. So rhetorical says, what exactly is this question in relation to? Which question? Aw, I love you too, DJ. The question about what you should do if someone ghosts you. Like, let's say someone, let's just make it easy and say it's a romantic relationship.
Well, there's a lot of people.
Yeah. Let's say that you are in a romantic relationship and you assume everything is going great, and this person just stops communicating with you after...
Here's her phone. So put it down.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Let's just say that this person stops communicating with you after...
Is this still baby asleep?
Yeah, he's sleeping in the swing.
Oh, you want me to take the rubber now?
No, you can leave it.
Okay.
This person stops communicating with you.
I'm gonna watch the baby, okay? I won't wake him up, okay?
Okay, don't touch him.
Okay.
Alright. Let's say that they stop communicating with you after, I don't know, 6 months. Y'all are having a great relationship, so you assume, right? Great relationship. Everything, you know, is going well. Y'all are communicating, blah, blah, blah. Talking daily or every other day, and then all of a sudden, you know, you reach out to them and they don't respond. You call them, they don't respond. You check social media and they have blocked you and removed you on all forms of social media. And you are just completely at a loss. You know, your first thought might be, okay, who do I know that we both know that I can reach out to and have them reach out to this person? But I would encourage you to just pause for a moment and remind yourself that communication is a skill, and there are situations in which some people don't know how to communicate. I mean, we've given tons of examples during this conversation alone. You know, if this person is now experiencing grief or something and they don't know how to communicate, right? So rhetorical, I feel you. So rhetorical says, to be honest, I'd probably be concerned about their well-being more than anything else. I agree with that. And honestly, that's where my mind and heart would go first, is, are they okay? But this is where it gets tricky, right? Because they could be experiencing something that they don't know how to communicate through, like some immense grief, like their mother passing away or someone very close to them passing away or something along those lines. And they're just blocking everyone off because they don't want to speak to anybody, right? That could be, you know, scenario number one. There could be another scenario in which they're actually, you know, in an unsafe situation and, you know, someone else has done all these things as far as blocking, etc., etc. Please. No, go put the, no, don't hit it. No, don't hit it. Go put it back. It's going to be too loud. But in any situation that we can perceive in our minds, we are not in control. You know, we are not in control. There's nothing that I can do to reach out to this person. I mean, I could try to go to like extreme lengths as far as physically going to their house, you know, etc., etc. But then what? You know, what if I get there and I can see that they're there and they still don't want to talk to me? Then what? You know, what's the next step after you've come to the conclusion that they're there, but they still don't want to talk to you and you still don't know why, you know? The Daywalker MC. I'm not sure who you're speaking to, but keep up that kind of discussion or that kind of talk and you'll get banned. Thanks. Big deal. Just walk away. Oops. I mean, yeah, you could walk away. It's just there's so many things that are happening in our mind, like you mentioned, sort of rhetorical. The first thing being, are they okay? Like being concerned with their well-being, you know? Plenty of fish in the sushi or something, I don't know. I feel that. I believe that we have to, again, just remind ourselves of the fact that communication is a skill, and not everybody is going to know how to communicate properly. The day worker says, I'm just saying hi, am I wrong? How you doing? I'm great. How are you? Go ahead, buddy. I ask myself why, what did I do? Exactly, Backyard Garden Joe. And that's typically what we go to is, what did I do? But here's the thing about that. Even if you knew, even if you had a clear answer to that question, then what? There's nothing you can do with that information if the person won't talk to you. Like I mentioned, even if they give you a clear reason, yeah, so rhetorical, nothing to gain. Exactly. There's nothing you can do with that information. Like, even if you knew what you did, then what? Like, what do you do moving forward? I mean, because you have to remember that people are going to interpret the things that you say and the things that you do differently, right? Like,
You didn't say hi to me.
that's okay, DJ.
That's away.
We can see, you can wait, but they might not say hi. So rhetorical says, you're just wasting your time and energy. You're better spent watching paint dry. Yeah, there's nothing we can do with that information. And at a point, we have to recognize that our energy and time is better spent elsewhere. Like focusing on ourselves, and also focusing on the relationships of people that actually reciprocate, right? Spending our time and energy on relationships with people where reciprocity is present, because you cannot force reciprocity. You cannot force someone to show up in a relationship just because you do, or to the same capacity that you do. You just can't. It's not a thing. You can tell them how much they mean to you. You can tell them, how much you appreciate their relationship, etc., etc. But you cannot force reciprocity. Things just are what they are. That's okay, DJ. It's okay, buddy. Or watching paint dry, underrated. There's just nothing that we can do. The only actions we can control are our own. Why is my camera blurry? There we go. Okay. But yeah, the only person's actions that we can control are our own. So when it comes to healing without closure, it really comes down to moving forward. May I bring in a more literal kind of ghosting? So rhetorical.
Whoa,
You can if you like, but the stream is going to be ending here pretty soon.
Man, my eye gotta color it.
I wasted so much time asking why instead of focusing on myself. I would ruminate on how I could have been different, and I know that's people pleasing. Exactly. Yes, TJ.
I gotta color my eye because I gotta do rescue pose.
Papa, we can't color your eye. You're not a cartoon. We can't do that.
No, you can leave that eye alone, but you can't color this eye. You can only color that one.
Okay, buddy. But yes. Oh, that's a shame. Maybe next time. I know you have no plans for it. It's all good, so rhetorical. I'm here every single day. 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 a.m. Central. So rhetorical, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you, beloved. 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Sunday through Sunday, Monday through Monday, Tuesday through Tuesday. Every single day of the week, I am here having mental health conversations. I got to wrap up for today because my son has to get ready for school. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you all for being here. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free, y'all. It's free. Just like a follow here on Twitch. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free. And I need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watched hours so I can monetize my dang on YouTube. In addition, I have merch. If you'd like to purchase some merch, there's my Etsy shop. I had a discount code, but it is now expired. It expired on Sunday. But here is my sweatshirt. This is one of them. It says choose you before life starts lifing. If you go on the Etsy site and you see
Is
me.
it bye, guys?
Yeah. You see me. You want to say bye?
They say bye. Are we done?
Everyone say bye to DJ.
Say bye to me, guys.
Say bye to me, guys. If you go on my Etsy shop and you see the picture of me, this is the sweatshirt that I'm wearing. Choose you before life starts lifing. It's on a mug. My mug's over there. White mug.
Good
Black
day,
mug.
DJ. Bye, DJ.
Bye, DJ. See you later, DJ. Yay, thank you.
Bye.
But I hope you all have a beautiful day. I'll be back tomorrow. Same time.
Use love
Same
bumps.
place.
I know during labs you'll use love bumps to your nose.
If y'all have a topic that you'd like me to discuss, let me know. Every Friday, I have a discussion with Spud Witch. She's also a life coach.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a chat this Friday. I think she already chose the topic. I gotta. Oh. That was a gross burp. Oh my goodness.
I burped.
You did burp. For those of you that are just listening, I apologize for the DJ burp. Anyways, I love you all. Have a beautiful day. Move your body a little bit today. Do something that you like dancing or yoga or singing in the rain or something. Stay hydrated. Stay cozy.
Did
Eat some
Jones
soup.
say bye to you?
Did Joan say bye to you? I think he did.
No.
Oh, that's okay. But yeah, subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a comment if there's a topic or something you'd like me to discuss. I love you all. Have a beautiful day. See you tomorrow. Sir. Bye, y'all. See you later, DJ.
OMG.
Got coughed on. Got the Rona in my ear.
Lark.
All right. Bye, y'all.